And up next on The Local Show, we welcome Jacqueline Chanda. Don't recognize that name? Well, she's the new head of Kansas City's Art Institute that's been making news of late, and not just because it's eyeing up plans to open a downtown location.
She's the 23rd president of Kansas City's venerable art school.
Well, Dr. Chanda, when you look at your resume, we see these references to Indiana, Ohio, California, but somehow or other it always seems to involve a little France in the middle of it.
Yeah.
That seems to be a recurring theme for someone who's covered as much ground as you have. What's the attraction?
I was a French minor during my undergraduate years at UCLA and did a study abroad program at the University of Bordeaux my junior year. And that's where the love of France began. In September of that year that I graduated in '72, bought a round-trip ticket and $150 in my pocket and got on the plane and went to France, to the dismay of my mother. And that was the beginning. I mean, that was, from then it was, I was there for 7 years doing graduate studies, and then eventually, after spending about 13 years out of the U.S., came back home. That's when I started my academic teaching career here in the U.S. And always had that little still fascination of wanting to go someplace where it was Francophone. So I did a lot of research in West Africa, the Ivory Coast, and Mali, and then eventually found this opportunity in Aix-en-Provence, which is where I was before I was hired to come to the Kansas City Art Institute.
That's quite a circuit, and it does involve Muncie, Indiana, and North Texas, and some places that aren't quite as alluring as France or West Africa.
Right.
Hopefully Kansas City, we're going to put up there. If not France itself, is still a pretty good place for you to find yourself a year and a half in.
I think very much so. I really like living in Kansas City. When I first knew I was coming or was in the interview process, I was really interested in knowing about the typography. I didn't want to be any place where it was flat. And I needed to be someplace where I knew that there were a certain number of sunshiny days. So I actually looked up on the internet to see the number of sunshine days that you have in this area. And I felt comfortable. It wasn't quite like Tucson, but then it wasn't as gray as Columbus. And I thought, okay, this could be good. And so when the plane landed for the interview, as the taxi drove into Kansas City and I saw the river and I saw the typography with the hills, I said, I think I could live here. And it's really turned out to be a wonderful place to live.
It's kind of a milestone for us because actually the first interview on this show was done with Kathleen Collins, your predecessor.
Oh, wow.
She actually kicked the local show off 2.5 years ago.
Oh, my goodness.
So you're stepping in. You stepped into a situation that I'm guessing you found to be at least pretty stable after her fairly long tenure.
Oh, yeah. She and predecessors before her had done a fabulous job of keeping the institution in soundness. And I really appreciate the work that she put into the campus environment, because the beautification of the campus was one of the things that she was very, very interested in taking care of. So I appreciate all that she's done in paving the way for me to step in after her retirement.
I look at the crossroads and I think, could that exist if the Kansas City Art Institute had not populated Kansas City with so many interesting people?
My understanding is maybe, maybe not, but the lead was with one of our faculty members, Jim Leedy, who, according to the history that I have, he was interested in providing studio spaces, and so he bought a couple of old buildings and kind of somewhat renovated them, and artists started, kind of occupying them in order to have studios to work in, and then things just developed from there. And I think it's really fascinating for me because the area of the crossroads, from my understanding, from a little bit of nothing, has become now a central focus of the First Fridays. It's very vibrant, very rich, and of course now the property values have increased tremendously, which means artists are now moving to another spot that will hopefully also be very active as the crossroads.
And that area has actually apparently brought some interest from you and from the folks downtown about putting maybe the Art Institute in play in that part of town.
Exactly. We've had conversations about downtown campus, which I know the downtown campus really basically focuses on UMKC's music conservatory moving downtown, and I understand that. But from my perspective, it's an opportunity to bring multiple entities in a vicinity where they can interact together and create a synergy of thought processes between the artists, both visual and performing arts. So in our particular case, we're thinking of the development of a graduate program and situating the graduate program in the downtown sector, you know, whether that's right smack downtown, whether that's West Bottoms. That has not been decided yet because we're just in the infancy stages of planning this possibility.
Yeah, but it's a pretty bold step for an institution that for so many years has been tucked right there in the shadow of the Nelson, and I assume that synergy has always been really a key component.
Yes, yes.
So you start thinking elsewhere. Does that challenge someone in your chair?
Challenges I think on a good note. I mean, the whole idea is not to really mess with the integrity of our undergraduate program because that's our strength. But I have, since I've been here, heard in meeting with a number of our alumni outside of Kansas City as well as in Kansas City to say, why don't we have a graduate program? And some who have said, wow, if you would ever get a graduate program, I'll be one of your first students. So there's interest there, and there's nothing. I guess the closest one would be maybe Memphis, or maybe it would be Milwaukee. Of course, there's Chicago Institute, but we don't talk about the Chicago Institute because they're small. They're much bigger than we are, so we only talk about those that are comparable, let's say, in size or almost comparable in size. And so it could be something interesting for us, especially as we think about it as not just a traditional graduate program in MFA, but something that is a little on the innovative, cutting-edge side, and we'll leave that part for future conversations.
Well, there's a lot of cutting-edge stuff that goes on with digital work, with animators.
Yes.
It seems like, in Kansas City, it's proving to be surprisingly strong to a lot of people's surprise, because there's more going on in this city in that way than you might know, and I would assume that's maybe some of the areas that you want to push.
Some of I guess the whole idea is that this program would not focus necessarily on specific discrete disciplines, even though people may be interested in a particular discipline. The intention is to kind of have it more open, and also to couple it with notions of innovation and entrepreneurship.
The good old entrepreneurship
The
part,
good old entrepreneurship,
which is part of that artistic need these days, is it not?
But it's not only necessarily a need, it's almost in some senses a natural direction for artists, be them performers or be them visual artists. A number of our students who graduate become entrepreneurs. They start their own businesses. They become creative in the way that they make that pathway to something that some place where they can use their skills to better their lives and to better the lives of others.
You referenced problem solving is one of the things you really hope that I think most people think, well, they just go paint, or they...
No. Our students are actually put in situations where a problem is presented to them where they have to find not just one answer, but perhaps multiple answers to a problem. So they not only learn how to problem solve, they also learn how to problem identify. And that whole process is really, really important, I think, to our economy and the growth of the U.S., to have creative problem solvers who can come and find multiple solutions to a particular situation.
And speaking of problems, I know front page news sometimes isn't always on the good kind either. Recently,
we've had some good stuff, though.
Well, you've had plenty of good stuff, and I think it's uncommon to see an article recently that a building that you'd had a pledge made towards not fulfilled, and causing you to have to take the people who'd come forward to court. The Larry and Christina Dodge building, I guess it is. What's the state on that?
Well, I really can't respond to that this time because they're still in litigation. So I would rather not make any comment in relationship to that.
Some of those tough days in the president's chair when you have to face that kind of stuff?
Some of those very tough days in the president's chair, yeah. Makes it a little uncomfortable, but I think the brighter sides of what we're doing and what our students are accomplishing and what we have to offer the community outweigh, any of this other stuff that goes on.
One, I know you probably also you want to spend some time sculpting. I think that's one of the things that you've been, known to do over time. Are you still getting some of that?
I haven't done anything yet. I spent a lot of time working on clay sculpture when I was in X, and I have a section of my garage where I've at least gotten the electricity done, so there's light there. I've had a new door carved so I can go straight from the house, and the next feat is to actually get a contractor in so they can begin to look at the space to create a kind of a somewhat studio space. It's rather small. It's like 8 feet wide by maybe 16 feet long, so it's long and narrow, but it's just enough for me to be able to do something, have those creative moments where I can go. I think it's hard to find studio space in a regular home, or unless you go out and rent space, because I've always been worried about my floors. What if I drop paint? It's carpet here, or there's wood, and I don't want to mess it up. So I think the garage area will be perfect for me once I get it done.
Rumor also has it that you've been known to be out cycling from time to time. True or false?
Yes, true. Very, very true. I enjoy riding my bike. I ride with a group that rides out of Brookside every Sunday morning, or at least when I can, when I'm here on Sunday mornings. And we do a good 25 to 30 mile ride, and I enjoy it very, very much. It's something I started about 6 years ago in Arizona when I lived in Tucson.
Well, and it proves that Kansas City isn't flat when you get out there.
That's right. Certainly does. Yeah.
Dr. Chanda, good to have you with us here on The Local Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.